is that your old mate Joel Fitzgibbon has had plenty to say about the climate wars, as yet again the Labor Party is trying to talk about whether or not to sign on to something like a 2030 target as opposed to the stated net zero 2050 target, which will be the Biden one. But of course all of that's irrelevant, isn't it, because we are 11 years away from extinction according to Greta Thunberg and the rest. So here we go. Here's Joel Fitzgibbon.
I do see a bit of hypocrisy in the position of some of the Europeans, given they're, so awash with nuclear energy, by example. They don't seem to give a recognition of our fossil fuel base here in Australia, so important to our economy. But it is entirely possible that the Europeans would start punishing Australia for not making the commitments that seem to align with what the commitment that Malcolm Turnbull made in Paris.
Now, Matt, a few things here, including I do like the branding of the Sky News Cup that apparently is on the mantle.
I saw that.
At the Fitzgibbon house at all times, and I'm pleased that's the case.
I've got to up my game, Paul.
Please, get a tattoo. Feel free. For want of a better term, is he the canary in the coal mine here, where he is trying to... he's trying to be the early signaller of what the electoral fortunes are going to be if they do the wrong thing, or is it just absolute arse covering from a bloke who almost lost his seat at the last election?
Well, I think it's a bit from column A and a bit from column B, Paul. There's no doubt that Joel had a huge wake-up call last year, a near-death experience, and like many people in foxholes, he's found God. He's found the carbon God and decided to convert to the cause of coal post last year's election. And good on him. It's great to have him part of the team, but unfortunately he's losing the battle over there in the Labor Party. He's had to leave the workers' so-called Workers' Party because they're not defending workers. I mean, this will be this announcement today. It will be carbon tax, I think, version 6 from the Labor Party in the last 10 or 15 years. That's what this means. Look, I just hope and pray they do ignore Joel because it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly.
He does provide a lot of light entertainment, a lot of light entertainment for the rest of us who are watching federal politics with interest. And it is interesting to see where federal Labor's going vis-a-vis the rest of their state branches. I mean, Belt and Road's a very good example. Federal Labor completely supported the government's bill to abolish Belt and Road agreements with the states. Daniel Andrews down here is still clinging to it like a life raft. So I just wonder whether or not Fitzgibbon and his quite middle of the road, I would have thought quite sensible policies, may win the day with his colleagues. I don't know, Nick. What's going to happen?
I mean, to hear Matt Canavan in a very humorous and clever way making fun of Labor
thanks, Nicholas.
and its climate policies, you'd think that he belonged to a political party that had this issue totally nailed. You'd think they'd had it all wrapped up with a bow on top, but of course the LNP have got their own set of messes around climate policy, don't they? I mean, they've got that 2030 target of 26%, which is woefully inadequate. We all know that. Matt would agree with me on that point, I'm sure. But of course, they don't have a 2050 target.
Way too high.
Yes, touche. But while like other conservative governments around the world, like Britain are committing to zero by 2050, and you've got Japan there, and even China's going zero by 2060. You've got that timid Liberal National Party operation here in Australia, which just cannot make a commitment to zero by 2050. And as a result, they're being snubbed by the rest of the world. Scott Morrison, absolutely humiliating, was refused a berth at a global climate conference earlier this week, again, because, along with us, Saudi Arabia and the Trump administration, which are obviously going down the toilet, where they're just clinging to a carbon-based future, where the rest of the world knows future is about transitioning away.
It's a national shame. It's a national shame that our dear leader couldn't join a Zoom call with a bunch of countries preening themselves on the world stage. I haven't been asleep all week. I mean, what's next, Nicholas? Are they going to take our berths away at Davos? We won't get a private jet to be able to land in. That'll be, I know, That's what we're all worried about in Canberra. So.
That's because Nicholas is waiting. He's waiting for each way Albo. If he became PM, the climate czar, he wants to be the John Kerry of this country, the one who gets to, tell us how to live, all the rest of it, of course, part of the system.
Well, I mean, I noticed Matt does a good routine in demonising China, but the fact is China has a more ambitious long-term policy around decarbonising their economy than Australia does.
Nick,
we all
China
need to decarbonise our economy.
Nick, China are liars. The People's Republic of China, the communist regime in China, they tell fibs, mate. They're liars. What they are trying to tell you about decarbonising is absolute rubbish. Complete rubbish.
Yeah,
and they're total hypocrites.
Yeah, and the number is 2060.
Well, let's put it this way.
2060. Yeah. They can pollute whatever they want till 2030, and then they're saying net zero, not 2050, 2060. Sorry, Tim.
Let's put it in this fashion,
Matt's
right?
a good local member. He's a good local member. He's sticking up for his patch, and of course he's trying to run a protection.
Hang on. Joel Fitzgibbon, who's standing up for workers in the Labor Party, got forced out of the shadow cabinet for standing up for workers in the Labor Party. Does that not show you where the modern federal Labor Party currently is? I mean, seriously.
Well, I don't think it's a debate about workers and who's sticking up for the workers because, I mean, there's no contest there. Labor is the party.
He got forced out of the shadow cabinet for standing up for coal mine workers. I mean, could there be any greater hypocrisy in modern Labor than that little episode? I mean, seriously, this is just embarrassing.
All right.
Well, there's a whole bunch of other issues going on in the federal Labor Party. It's a little bit more complex than just a debate.
Matt, you get the last say.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back quickly to the China point. I mean, apparently Nicholas is saying we can trust China to cut their carbon emissions to effectively destroy their economy over the next 40 years for their 2060 net zero commitment. But we can't trust China to adhere to a trade agreement they signed up just 5 years ago. I mean, these two things don't make sense. If China can't be trusted on trade, they certainly cannot be trusted to get rid of their coal industry, because we all know you can't have communism without coal. They go together.
Let alone the deal they did with the UK about Hong Kong. It's not just about Australia displeasing them, Nick. Anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
But Nick and his mates want us to lead the world globally on carbon emissions and climate change. But heaven forbid we lead the world in calling out the source of the pandemic. We've completely undermined our national interests according to them. No, complete rubbish. We actually stood up for ourselves and did the right thing by the world.